Joe Manchin is once again making American politics all about himself. This time, he's got his sights set on unions. He's not happy with a tax credit designed to benefit union car companies. And so there's this legislation in the House that would provide customers with a tax credit of $7,500 for new electric vehicles. In years past, there's been versions of this tax credit. What they want to do though was do an additional $4,500 credit if the vehicle's made in the United States by union workers. You know, it's the sort of thing that they all pretend they want until money actually enters the picture. Joe Manchin objected to this particular tax credit. And for once, he actually went on the record talking about what he's intending to do. He said, when I heard about this, what they were putting in the bill, I went right to the sponsor, Senator Debbie Stabenow, and I said, this is wrong. This can't happen. It's not who we are as a country. It's not how we built this country, and the product should speak for itself. We shouldn't use everyone's tax dollars to pick winners and losers. If you're a capitalist economy, that we're in a society, then you let your product speak for itself, and hopefully we'll get that. That'll be corrected. Bear in mind, he is fresh off of manipulating the entire reconciliation process to make sure that none of the legislation in any way negatively impacts his investment in the coal industry. But again, politicians shouldn't be picking winners or losers, except presumably they're the potential loser. So in theory, this would not only give people who aren't as wealthy the ability to buy electric cars that have generally only been available to people with more means, but it would also incentivize those being made by union companies. And in fact, if you provide this tax credit, then maybe some of these companies won't be as terrified about the prospect of their workforces unionizing if they know that it's going to produce years of more demand for their product by the American population. But Joe Manchin's basically president, so maybe this thing's already dead.
So he gave this speech at Toyota, which does not unionize its workers. So, gee, I wonder if he collected checks from them afterwards. Probably not, wink. Dark money, super PACs, Chamber of Commerce, all working with Toyota. Oh golly gee, no. You know, if there's one thing we know about Joe Manchin, he does not want to pick winners and losers. He doesn't want the government doing that. So let me show you some examples of whether we actually do that or not. Let's go to graphic 4 here. Conservative estimates put US direct subsidies to the fossil fuel industry at roughly $20 billion per year, with 20% currently allocated to coal, which Joe Manchin is invested in, and 80% to natural gas and crude oil. So that is, subsidies are the government saying, here, have this money. That's taxpayer money. $20 billion goes to the industry strangling the planet. And Manchin has the nerve to say, because he thinks there's no press in America. He thinks the press is not actual journalists, there is lapdogs, and he's generally correct. So he says brazen things like, we don't want to pick winners and losers. Full well knowing he's sending $20 billion to his friends in the fossil fuel industry, which includes himself. In fact, let's show you a sample a year here. Let's go to a chart of the year 2016. Oh, look at that, renewable energy is cute. That's in the green. That is the subsidies being sent to them. Because it's a new industry, you want to support it in the beginning so that it can get its legs under it, and that's why you give them a little bit of subsidies. And that makes sense, and that used to happen for the oil industry about 100 years ago. Oh, look, it still does. And at a much, much higher number to this day, even though the people that are getting that tan and black bars, the much, much higher bar of money, they're among the most profitable companies in the world. Why are we sending them extra subsidies to do a thing that is already intensely profitable, let alone destroying the environment and the planet? And well, I asked why, so I'm gonna answer the question for you guys, which leads me to graphics here, number 9. Let's go to 8 actually. Oh, here's a report by TYT Investigates. Manchin's call haul tops $5 million. Over the last 10 years, he has made more than $5 million from his own coal company, which he sends subsidies to while giving speeches about, we don't want to pick winners and losers here with the government, right? He literally pays himself. He picks himself as the winner. The corruption of these politicians knows no bounds, but we continue. The senator earned $491,949 in dividends just last year. as journalist Alex Koch reported this summer. So that's TYT and Daily Poster confirming the same number. That's $500,000 he makes every single year from coal. And then of course there are the donations. Over his career, Joe Manchin, this is not even the dark money. This is just stuff that we know about. Oil and gas has given him $1,072,857, and mining has given him $853,998. So about $2 million. Gee, I wonder why they send $20 billion to fossil fuel industry in subsidies, because he just got bribed $2 million for his campaigns. That's why. It's very simple. It's bribery, it's corruption, but he brazenly mocks the rest of us because he knows there are no real reporters in the country. And finally, career donations to Joe Manchin from the energy and natural resources sector. That's even higher at $2.8 million. So there you have it. That's how bribery works in America. And the politicians gleefully lie to you, thinking mainstream media is on our side. They're never gonna tell you the truth, so I can lie to you all day long. Nina.
And adding to that, that is an example of picking and choosing winners. You know, all the things that Manchin said that we don't do as a country, and that's not how we made. No, that's exactly how it's done in the United States of America, picking and choosing. And Manchin has been picking and choosing for a very long time. He decided that the B to the third power was not the way to go, that the BIF was the way to go. He picked and chose, along with some other folks, that particular bill over the bill that would have the most impact on the people who had the greatest needs. He wants means testing for programs that should not be means tested. That's picking and choosing. And you know what? This man is playing a dangerous game, and they're allowing him to continue to do that. That 50-50 split in the Senate is real, and the filibuster is real. They must get rid of the filibuster, because Joe Manchin is going to continue to be the shadow president all the way through the end of this thing on things that we need the most, because he's gonna have these kind of temper tantrums all the way through the process, straight through 2024.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing, like, a couple of $1 million? Think about that as an investment. How much would they have to put into like discovering new sources of oil to make $20 billion in 1 year? But instead they buy someone cheap like Joe Manchin or whatever. It's amazing that we let them do it. And that for most politicians, it's that form of corruption, and then it's also they're planning for after, when they finally leave office, assuming they're not one of those who sticks around until they're 95 or whatever. They'll do speeches, or they'll sit on a board, or they'll become a lobbyist themselves or whatever. But Joe Manchin, he isn't even content to just do those two totally accepted forms of corruption. He's also directly benefiting himself financially every single year. And if you're lucky, as you pointed out, a couple journalists will talk about it, but it's not really a big story. The media talks constantly about Joe Manchin's influence on this process. They almost never acknowledge it. If they talk about him owning the coal company, that's the story. It's never mentioned in relation to what he's doing. His motivations are never questioned. Axios had a story about, inflation seems like it's buttressing Manchin's point. Okay, so that's what he said. I get it. You have there's no other potential motivations. You can't read anything about the actions he's made financially to tie into that. And it's just disappointing that the American people care so little and the journalists talk about it so little too.
Yeah, so last two things on that. Speaking of picking winners and losers, the media picks winners and losers. So they take Manchin, they call him a moderate. And that sounds amazing, right? That sounds great. What a reasonable person, he's a moderate. They say he's listening to the will of his voters and there's nothing he can do. The polling indicates that statement is a flat out lie. Every poll from West Virginia shows that Build Back Better is intensely popular, and the provisions that Manchin is against are the most popular in West Virginia. Yeah. Yet, the mainstream media picks a winner, Joe Manchin, because they agree with his corporate agenda, and they say he is the moderate, he is the one that represents the voters. Now, progressives, on the other hand, say no, the voters actually really want paid family leave. They really want lower drug prices. It polls at nearly 90%. And we're gonna fight really hard so the voters can get more. And right after the vote, the media comes out and says the progressives were trying to deny voters. But do you have any idea how many calls they got in their districts? I know this for a fact, because the voters listened to the media and the media told them, oh, the progressives screwed you and they voted no on the help you desperately need, they're the most right wing. Come on, Jesus Christ. They don't say the most right wing, but they imply it as if being against the incredibly weak package, the corporate package put together by Democratic leadership means you're right wing, not left wing. That you wanted less for the voters instead of more. So our media is a giant problem in this country. Maybe the single biggest problem in this country. It's corporate media for only corporate interests. And then finally, let's also note that Joe Manchin, who his whole career has been lying that his #1 concern is jobs in West Virginia, and how, my God, he's looking out for the workers of West Virginia, not for his corrupt coal baron friends, which includes himself. No, the workers. Now he says unionized. No, I don't want, that's not the American way. Then they would have higher wages. No, we don't want that. No, you crush the workers so your donors win, or your owner donors win.
Yeah.
Right? And so understand who these corrupt corporate Democrats are.
That's right. And back to the media, Cenk, I mean, the working class lens is totally missing. So unless it's independent media like us at TYT and some others, or they invite one of us on, you are hard pressed to see or hear the narrative of anything political, especially through the eyes of working class people.
Yeah.
That narrative, that frame matters, but we don't get that frame. And the other point that you continue to make, and everybody should just come on with us, say this with us, the progressives, i.e. in this particular situation, the squad was fighting for more for the American people, not less.
Yeah, don't let mainstream media lie to you. They have a very obvious corporate agenda.
My final point, one more person who picks winners and losers. So Nancy Pelosi had said before they did that vote, well, we can't force a vote on reconciliation yet, because what if the moderates vote against it? But we'll do the one on the bipartisan one, even though the squad is saying they'll vote against that. So she chose which one could be pitched as voting against the entire process. She could have put up the reconciliation one. We had an agreement that you do both simultaneously. And then Sinema and Manchin presumably either would have actually gone along with it in the end, or would have to be the ones stopping the process from moving forward. But she chose who gets to be portrayed as being a roadblock to this aid.
Another example of picking winners and losers.
Exactly, at the bidding of your owner donors.
And if you're a progressive in Congress and you think Nancy Pelosi's your friend, right after she threw you under the bus, just like we told you she would, you should rethink that. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.